Hello again, friends. The great Brian Last here. You there. We're back with more breaking news audio. It keeps happening. It's happened again. It's always the same culprit. But here with me, of course, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Wait a minute. Now you've fingered me as the culprit, apparently, the way you just condensed that down there. You just wanted to get out of it before you f***ed it up. Go ahead and admit it. Well,
an expert on culprits, Mr. Jim Cornette.
An expert on culprits. Get that theme music ready to go here for a few minutes. Steph walks warily down the street with her brim pulled way down low. Another one bites the dust. If you don't know the news that we are breaking now to you, well, if you don't know the news, it's news to you. Stephanie McMahon out of the WWE by her own hand. Apparently just brought, here's the thing. This is such a rib. The breaking news audio is going to be out before the podcast that we just recorded a few hours ago, where we were bemoaning the fact that, well, nothing's happened in the last couple of days and we don't really have much to talk about. So, well, we'll see you later, folks. And 2 hours later, the harlot, the Jezebel, the hussy, didn't even have the courtesy to do this in normal business hours, so we could have talked about it on the regular program. Now we got to jump in here and fix the breaking news. What do you think about that?
Well, indeed, we were saying there was nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, late in the day on a Tuesday, so who's paying attention to anything? I mean, NXT's coming up. No one's paying attention. A tweet went out, then, now, forever, together, and attached is a letter.
Except while we're together, I'll be over here.
Dear WWE.
Go ahead and read the letter. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you because this is just hilarious.
Well, I'm not going to get past the first line here because I want to ask you about it. Dear WWE Universe. So she uses that company lingo, and then she does the company tagline, then, now, forever, together, which is the worst tagline for a wrestling company of all time, but they love it. What do you think of that? The fact that it's so companied up?
Well, I mean, obviously, as the people out there will hear when you do read this thing, none of this is genuine, sincere. This is corporate company speak. This is all quotes that she and they released the joint statement with Nick Khan commenting and Stephanie commenting and whoever the fuck else was involved commenting. But it's all quotes that have been drawn up carefully so as not to crash the stock or send the stock storing or fucking send the employees leaping from windows on the top floor of Titan Tower or whatever. But the point is, I mean, she just led a company-wide rah-rah phone call on Friday afternoon where it was stressed that management would not change and everything is moving along swimmingly as Vince comes in to oversee this brand new strategic missile defense system or whatever the fuck they're about to launch. And what's that? Well, not counting weekends because they don't work up there on the weekends, the office people. 72 hours later, the co-CEO and charwoman, she quit her charwoman position too. She's out. That's a management change, isn't it?
This is a big change on various levels. Let me read the
So she was one of the people on the call saying there's going to be no change in management.
That's right. She was one of the people leading the call.
She just changed the management.
Well, here's her letter. Dear WWE Universe, about 8 months ago, I took a leave of absence, and within a few weeks, unexpectedly had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the privilege to return as the co-CEO.
To help my dad cover up for his dalliances with illegal paralegals.
As co-CEO, and the paralegal was, well, I don't want to get into the legalities of it, and co-CEO and chairwoman of the board of WWE. I cannot put into words how proud I am to have led what I consider to be the greatest company in the world.
I can't use the words in this communication that I'd like to use.
Working alongside a remarkable leadership team and one of the strongest executives I have known in my co-CEO, Nick Khan.
Oh, I thought if she was talking about Vince, are you sure it wasn't one of the strangest executives I have known?
Our founder, Vince McMahon.
You remember all of the old movies in the old days, the 30s or 40s, when they had the picture of the old guy up on the wall, our founder.
Our founder, Vince McMahon, has returned as executive chair and is leading an exciting process regarding strategic alternatives. Let's stop there.
Are you sure he's not the founder or the flounder? Or is the company going to founder as a result of the founder?
Every story's about a sale. She says, strategic alternatives. Exciting strategic alternatives. What is that?
Well, that's what they've been calling this whole process. They can't come right out and say, hey, we're shopping for a sucker. Or as Bert Prentice, my old friend, would say, an angel. They say we're exploring strategic alternatives, such as somebody giving us a bunch of fucking alternative money for this thing and us getting out of it.
Well, let me go back to what she said here. Vince is leading the team regarding strategic alternatives. And with Nick's leadership...
Wasn't he just advising last week?
Well, I think, what was it? It was on the 6th that he stormed back in.
He was either overseeing or advising. Now he's leading.
Well, it's happened pretty quick. The lead investigator was the first guy to resign from the board. And with Nick's...
I had high hopes for old Manjeet.
And with Nick's leadership and Paul Triple H Levesque as Chief Content Officer, I'm confident WWE is in the perfect place to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. WWE is in such a strong position that I've decided to return to my leave and take it one step further with my official resignation. I can't read that with a straight face.
I've decided now to, as a buy your leave, go back to spending more time with my family, and also, fuck you, I quit. If she was, they could have at least had her say, I'm going to continue my leave and spend more time with the children and let her quit next week. But no, that once again is very jarring. It's off-putting when you hear it like that because it's so friendly up to that last minute, and I'll kick it up a notch. Bam! How about this? I'm out of here. I'm fucking done. You'll never see my.
That's what you would have done. That's what you would have done. Admit it. You can go back to hanging out at home. We'll figure something out. I'll tell you what, I'll go back home. Fuck you. I'm never coming back.
Yeah, I kind of sort of did that 2 or 3 times. Remember the one time Vince asked Bruce, where you think he is? He said he may be halfway back to Tennessee by now.
I look forward. Let me go back to Stephanie here.
Yes, please. I'll massage my face.
I look forward to cheering on WWE from the other side of the business.
The old Bronx cheer.
Where I started when I was a little kid as a pure fan. I will always remain dedicated to WWE. I truly love our company, our employees, our mighty leader, Saddam Hussein, our superstars. Like, what is this fucking letter? Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. Our superstars and our fans, and I am grateful to all of our partners. Thank you for everything. Then, now, forever, together.
And please, Vince, let my kids come home now. Kids, Grandpa didn't mean it. You'll get to come home.
He staged a coup. He really did it.
We're neglectifying one extra piece of business. She resigned as the co-CEO and the charwoman. She is also off the board of directors. Remember, we just did the show a couple of days ago where we said, okay, well, now on the board of directors, because old Manjeet, is it Manjeet or Manjeet? It's Jit. the way it's written, but
I've been pronouncing it
Manjeet sounds more
I believe
Hindu or whatever.
Well, I don't know if that's the way I'd put it, but I think that may be the correct.
I was trying to be polite. I don't know what the proper terms are.
And I'm trying to make sure you've been polite and people know your intent.
Well, my intent for all intent and purposes was to just say I don't know how to pronounce this motherfucker's name.
Well, he's gone.
Well, he's gone anyway. And the other guy went with him. Vince brought himself and Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, who were the two big wigs under him that he fired a couple years ago when he brought Nick Khan in. Nick Khan's another member of the board. So was Stephanie, but she's not now. Old Triple Paul is still on the board, apparently. And there's a couple of other bystanders, but basically everybody on the board now is either somebody that Vince specifically brought in and hired and put on there, or is him or a relative of his. And apparently they have now elected him unanimously or urinaneously the new executive chairman of the board. So when Stephanie...
It's like when Putin gets 99.9% of the vote in Russia. Because it's a gun to everyone's head.
But how do they decide the 0.1% just to make it look good? Who does that? They're probably too scared to. But so Stephanie is no longer the co-CEO. Now Nick Khan's the only CEO. Which brings to mind that, well, if Nick Khan can do his and Stephanie's job, then what the hell were they paying Stephanie all that money for? Was she just lounging about eating bonbons? She can just leave and there's no co-CEO and everything's sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and waterfalls?
Was it just so the investors saw McMahon at the top of the company while Vince was one of two things? Either legitimately sent away with the intention he was never coming back, or told, go home for a while, and then you'll come back next year. Which is what this is turning into.
See here, Muggsy. You just lay low until the heat's off. Just lay low, pal, till the heat's off. You'll cool down. You'll come back in. We'll give you the east side to start with. So, Stephanie, again, she's no longer co-CEO. Nick Khan's the CEO of the whole hee-haw gang.
For now.
But Vince brought him in from Hollywood with what we thought was the express purpose of doing what they're kind of doing right now, and Barrios and Wilson that he just brought back are the ones that he fired to bring Nick Khan in. So maybe now they're on the same page as what Vince, because remember we said at the time, apparently Vince woke up and decided this is what we need to do, and they probably said, oh no, Vince, and he said, well, see you later. Well, now apparently they're all on the same page. It's going to get lonesome, I would think, at the Levesque dinner table when Stephanie's sitting there with her home-cooked meal that she's prepared lovingly with her own two hands, and there's old Triple Paul is still at the office at 9 o'clock listening to Vince tell everybody the way it's going to be, but
And then he adds to the board Jim Troy and zombie Howard Finkel.
Not Fink! Oh my God. Fink would still be more polite as a zombie than anybody else that worked in the building. So, yeah, so this was abrupt. But again, nobody can claim that this was all part of the plan and something that Stephanie was exhibiting a sigh of relief. Well, now that Vince is back, I can rejoin my leave and kick it up a notch, take it a step further with my complete resignation from everything, right as this company that I've been inextricably linked to for 25 years is probably about to be sold for billions of dollars. And especially because she just led the phone call last Friday. If there had been any inkling of that, would they have buried themselves by saying there's going to be no management change? Everybody, we love our management team. Everybody's in the right place. And this is going to be a seamless thing where Vince is coming back to oversee this grand adventure we're imparting on. And then, like I said, 3 days later, oh, well, you know what? Fuck it. Because I got all those magazine subscriptions when I thought I was going to be taking a leave. That can't, this, there had to be something said or done that led to her saying, well, I'm going to quit if that happens, and somebody else saying, well, I don't care.
Hey, you want to hear something interesting? Mike
Sure,
Sempervive.
as apart from this program.
Well, Mike Sempervive of the Wrestling News tweeted out, this is from June 2022. Business Insider's Claire Atkinson reported Stephanie being, quote, replaced in her roles were a part of a shakeup, end quote, instigated by Vince. Quote from Company Insider, when someone is moved out, it's usually the result of something not working. We took stronger control of that. And it is ... I don't know where it continues to, but that's where the relationship was in June, before everything.
And then when Vince is persona non grata, like you said earlier, they got to have a McMahon in, somebody named McMahon, even though Triple H would actually be more of a steady principle on the creative and the wrestling side of things. We got to have somebody named McMahon running the thing. So, well, here's Stephanie. And now,
if Shawn goes, Triple H is next.
Very interesting.
I'm not saying where they're going to go or if there's anywhere to go, but I'm just saying in terms of what's going on there, if they start going down there and fucking with NXT and now it's, you know what? We're feeling vengeful. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting dynamics here, and they're all playing out.
I still stand by what I said on one of our programs here the last few days. I don't think Vince right now is going to be delving into the creative of NXT or even Raw or whatever. He might be trying to get every big name star he possibly can back and twisting the Rock's arm and got any more dates for me, Cena, and whatever. That kind of thing. I don't think he's going to be at this point minutely involved in creative, but he's got a bunch of major corporate executives to run off.
Well, Jim, there's a strain called Cotton Candy that I may have taken a hit or two from a little bit earlier. And I was thinking about things. And it got me thinking. Remember in 92 when the scandals hit? Mel Phillips, who was an independent contractor, not an employee, was gone. Terry Garvin was gone.
Right.
And everyone was led to believe that Pat Patterson was also gone. Meanwhile, it's now come out, the assumption is that Pat kept working during that time.
Yes.
And again, the majority belief is that Pat was innocent of what he was being accused of in this whole thing with Murray Hodgkin and who was later exposed to be a con artist and the Ring Boys and everything else.
Pat was Terry Garvin and Mel Phillips had power in the company. Pat was by far of the two of them the most powerful, or of the three of them, the most powerful person in the company. He was also the other gay guy. So they had to talk about him to get anywhere. or as I've said, Pat's sense of humor, but he wouldn't take anything that far. So, yeah.
Well, he was kind of gone, but he wasn't gone.
So he was gone, but he wasn't gone because they just wanted the heat to subside off of Pat because he hadn't done anything.
You can't do that with a publicly traded company.
Well, especially when the guy actually has done something. We'd have found out if Pat Patterson had ever paid $20-something million for whistling at anybody's willy.
Well, it's not about whether you did it or didn't. It's about how you react to it. It's about a track record of how you react to things. Again, I smoked a little bit, so I wasn't in my right mind, Mr. McDivitt. I just want to say that. Again, you couldn't do what they did with Pat Patterson now. What you could do is have Vince say, I've got a lot of heat. I'm going home. I'm going to be home for a while. I'm coming back next year. Stephanie just went home. Have her come back. And then when I come back, she can go home again. And we'll put some stories in the press so that the SEC doesn't get too concerned that I'm fighting my way back and I'm going to take over and I got my own people. And then I'm just going to do everything I wanted to do anyway.
The only thing is they were just goofy then if they buried themselves with that call on Friday that they called. Vince has pressed this issue. And Vince, they were reacting to Vince instead of working in concert with Vince because, well, if you read the stuff that he released and when he put himself back on the board that included some of the email to the board about what he intended to do, he was giving them a deadline. I need to hear from you by January 5th in any case. And apparently either he heard back from him not what he wanted to hear, or he didn't hear back. And on January 6th, boom, he's been pressing this. And if Stephanie had known that she was going to do this week or even in the next few weeks or whatever, they would have figured out a way to word that differently on the Friday call so that she didn't bury herself. But I said, well, there's going to be no management change. And suddenly, well, the co-operator of the company, which is pretty high up management, has decided, fuck everything. I'm not only going back on my leave of absence, I'm resigning. I'll never be back. And by the way, I'm off the board of directors, which is a nominal position anyway in terms of the time you spend on a company. So, no, they didn't work. Vince is causing this with whatever behavior Vince is doing and things Vince is saying behind the scenes and to these people.
So the board of directors, if we could talk about that for a moment, obviously Vince, and I have the, let me read the official statement here. Hold on. Dated today, January 10th, 2023. WWE Board of Directors unanimously elects Vince McMahon, Executive Chairman of the Board, Stamford, Connecticut, Business Wire. WWE today announced that its Board of Directors unanimously elected Vince McMahon, Executive Chairman of the Board. Stephanie McMahon has resigned from her roles as Chairwoman and co-CEO. Nick Khan will serve as WWE CEO. And here's a quote from Vince McMahon. First, I'd like to express my full support for Stephanie's personal decision. And don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
I fully support the decision that she made independently of any outside pressure.
I'll forever be grateful that she offered to step in during my absence, and I'm truly proud of the job she did co-leading WWE. Stephanie has always been the ultimate ambassador for our company, and her decades of contributions have left an immeasurable impact on our brand. I'm proud to announce that Nick Khan will serve as WWE CEO. Nick's business acumen and mastery of the media industry have helped catapult our business to record revenue and profitability. Together, we look forward to working with the board at this critical moment in time to review our strategic alternatives and maximize value for all WWE shareholders.
Strategic. This time next year, baby, we're going to be making major motion pictures and strategic alternatives.
Here's a quote from Stephanie McMahon. I cannot put into words how proud I am to have helped lead what I consider to be the greatest company in the world, and I'm confident WWE is in the perfect position to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. Jim, we have another couple statements here. Nick Khan says, Stephanie McMahon is a terrific executive and an even better person. It has been an honor to serve as co-CEO with her. She will only continue to succeed. I'm grateful to Vince McMahon and our board of directors for their ongoing support. I look forward to continuing to work closely with them and my WWE colleagues to ensure our company may thrive as the premium powerhouse in sports entertainment for years to come. And finally, Paul Triple H Levesque says, oh shit, I'm fucked. Did anyone see where I left that tank? And there it is.
The happiness radiates from all of these statements about how lovely everything is, that people are resigning and leaving and being kicked off the board and jammed onto the board. They're board packing is what they're doing up there. They're board packing.
Well, I don't know about
It's
that.
supposed to be illegal.
But the question is, who's on the board? Here's their website currently lists as being on the board, and we know Manjeet and what was the other guy's name? Lupus. I forget what the other guy's name was.
No, Mahmood, lube him up. Flavored lube. What was his name?
None of those. But Mr. Lube and Mr. Manjeet, they quit. They resigned from the board.
Yes, as soon as the Vince news was announced.
Vince took 3 seats for him, George Barrios, and Michelle McKenna.
No, I thought it was Michelle Wilson.
Oh, that's a different one.
And that's a different one.
And Michelle Wilson, who has a capital management company, it says here.
Well, yeah, because that's what Michelle and George left to start. I don't know what happened to Ringo, but they left to start their own company, and now they're coming back after having started that company to be on the board with Vince. And then the Michelle McKenna is the one of the people that was just there that we said, who the fuck is this? And how'd she ever get involved to begin with?
That's right. All right, well, let's go back a step. So Vince, George, and Michelle Wilson is 3. Michelle McKenna, CEO of the Michelle McKenna Collaborative, she's 4. Steve Koonin, who's the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks and the State Farm Arena, that makes 5. Paul Levesque makes 6. Nick Khan makes 7. Stephanie McMahon just resigned. So is that everyone who voted for Vince?
Well, because they said it was unanimous.
Huh.
So, yes, everybody loves Vince now. Remember, it was, and again, the communication from the board of directors to Vince back in December when he first contacted them about coming back was that board had unanimously voted that or decided that him coming back was not a good idea.
Okay, I'll replace the board.
Once he gets finished sanding that board down, once he gets finished putting the shellac on that board, all of a sudden the board unanimously said, you're our executive chairman. Oh, fearless leader.
Well,
so there you go.
Well, again, the breaking news as we are here, Stephanie McMahon resigns from WWE, from co-CEO and as chairwoman of the board of directors. She will now be just a fan like the rest of us, although a fan whose best friend was Andre the Giant. Jim, any thoughts on who's going to be the next person to go? Or who's going to be the next person added to the board or subtracted from the board? Because there's now 3 open seats in terms of Manjeet, Mr. Lube. That's not even his name. Now you got me saying it. And Stephanie McMahon, there's 3 open seats.
Well, I'll tell you, I know for sure who the next person that's going to be off the board is. The next person that disagrees with Vince. That's who. Now, who that will be may remain to be seen. And do they have to have a set number? Or can they just have as many as Vince wants them to have?
I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Because, I mean, I'm sure he can find a few more if they need them, but maybe he's happy with the ones he's got right now, and especially the way they vote. Now, you know, what happens if Triple H, you know, is like, well, you know, Vince, maybe we shouldn't bring the Ultimate Warrior back or have somebody play him because we own the intellectual property, and maybe he might get voted off the island. Or maybe it's going to be like Agatha Christie, where every time they have a board meeting, there's another empty chair. And then finally, when it gets down to just Vince and whoever, then you'll figure out who the perpetrator is.
Are you still as confident today as you were days ago that he's not going to interfere with creative?
Well, I didn't say he wasn't going to interfere. I said he's probably not going to have time if this. And here's another thing. They said last week that they expected this to be a 3 to 6 month procedure. He ain't got time. I said if it lasted a couple years, yeah, by then he would have gotten around to fucking with that too. But right now he's frying the big fish. He might get or try to get Cena to come back, or whoever's still living and breathing that can walk, or whatever, that are his ideas of stars to that level, or to tell Triple H he's got to do something as a concept possibly that he might not like. But I don't think he's going to have time to get down in the weeds of starting to run individual talents off again. Although if he can fucking repeat the magic with Flop Dollar, he'll get my vote for the next time we vote for the chairman of the board.
You know, WWE could be a good bargain. Do you think he would go for the same kind of deal he got? Give me WWE and I'll just pay you out of the money we're making.
Ooh, like the deal he made with his dad. Just turn the company over to me and I will pay you out of the proceeds of the ongoing concern that we are running here. That might not be a bad idea. I don't know if he'd go for it, though, because he's the one that thought of that con to begin with. His poor old father, bedridden though he was. But yeah, the boss is back, baby. And once again, I think it amounts to whoever's going to play ball in the vision that Vince sees of whatever he's trying to do. Is he trying to sell it? Is he trying to take it back over and, as you said, take it private?
How long before he's on TV? How long before he walks to the ring? Or at least goes to the ramp and waves, or does whatever the hell he does?
Let's give him 4 weeks. Got to be at least 4 weeks. But I think he's going to sell it. I don't think he wants to take it private. I don't think Vince McMahon can turn down the thought of getting a check for $6 billion.
We'll see. We'll see who's going to pay him that much. The stock, as of the close today, $90.24.
It's almost $100 a share now.
They've hot-shotted it.
What was it when he when he had the initial bad publicity, the unpleasantness, as they say over across the pond? Last year it was like 60-something bucks or whatever, right? It's $30 a share now, more than it was when he was found out to be dallying with the hired help.
The Stephanie announcement was after the market closed, so we'll see how people react to that, if anyone does, tomorrow. But I guess before we wrap up this breaking news audio, closing thoughts on the future of WWE or what's happening? I mean, it's so much happening quickly. I mean, CM Punk has to do something quick to get the news off WWE for once.
Yeah, I mean, you know, our boy Punk has been off the front pages for a while. He needs to make a comeback on it because he was the only thing that was really competing with all the WWE palace intrigue for views and clicks and thought and discussion amongst all of because everything in the ring sucks donkey cocks these days. So Punk, take somebody else down. If you can, get a hold of Cutlet and fuck him up. Just stretch him for me. Put a ham sandwich on his back and starve him to death. Anyway, are you going to be able to get this breaking news? Are you going to be able to get this breaking news update in the actual show that we have already done, but has not actually been released?
Right now, Travis Heckel has been informed that we're recording something. He hasn't heard it yet, obviously, because we are recording something. And the intention is, if you are hearing this in the show, or if you're not, I don't know who I'm broadcasting this part for. But in case you're hearing this here. No, this will be right before the end of the show.
This will be right here.
It'll be right before the music at the end of the show.
We got to be recording something. Got to be recording something.
At this point, you're starting to really love taking other people's songs and applying your own lyrics to it.
But you're too high to get over. Yeah. All right. Say goodnight, Brian.
Good night, Brian. And of course, we'll be back with the Drive-Thru. Well, if you're listening to the Drive-Thru, go listen to the rest of this right now. And for everyone else, tally-ho!